Story why the Ratel is so keen on honey. The children were accompanying old Hendrik from the tobacco lands to the mealie lands farther out, and on the way, in crossing the broken, bush-grown spruit between, the eldest boy marked a fresh earth of the Ratel or honey badger. "Dat's bad to see if we don't do somethin'," said old Hendrik. "Dear'll be mighty little honey on dis place, 'fore long if we don't drop on to Mr. Ratel." "But, oh, Ta," demanded Annie, "why is the Ratel always after the honey?" "Well, Enkie," answered old Hendrik gravely, "it's 'cause it's in de blood. Some folk esses it's dis way and some esses it's dat way, but as soon as Ratel sees 'em comin' to axe, he fair dives into diggin', and he's halfway down to Dublin, as your mammy esses, 'fore day comes to where he started Epham. It ain't dat dese higher Ratels ain't proud o' de reason, 'cause dey tinks it was mighty smart o' dear granddaddy. It's yust dey rinks nobody knows, and so dey won't tell. But I knows, 'cause my ol' granddaddy tole me, and it happen in his granddaddy's time. You see it was de granddaddy of all dese yer Ratels, and it was when he was a young curl in his daddy's house. Dear ain't no doubt he was slim, by a slim, and he was yust dat gone on honey dat he even played tricks on his old daddy, till at last he tried on dat about de sack o' honey and de honeygum tree. Den, well, you listen. Dis young Siunkie Ratel was de sort dat his mammy was allez a fallin' out wid his daddy over him, reckonin' his daddy was allez a tinkin' he was up to some skelumness or other. An' I reckon mysef dat de ol' man knowed. However, de ol' man had a big goatskin chock full o' de finest honey, and he kep it under de bed in de sleepin' chamber, so it you'd be nice and handy and safe. In a mornin' dey'd all get up, and de ol' daddy he'd go out and have a look round, and de ol' mammy she'd be busy a-gettin' de breakfases ready, while little Missy Wilhelmina Ratel she'd play about, inside or outside or underfoot, yust like little girls does when dear mammies is busy. And all dis time young Siunkie Ratel he'd be, well, dat's when de honey you'd be doin' de disappearin'. What he used to do was to wait till de rest was outside or in de eatin' room, and then he'd sneak back into de sleepin' chamber, pull out his knife, snick a chunk o' dis sugary honey out o' de bag, slip it into his pocket and off out to have a look round too, for breakfast. Dat's when he'd scoff dis chunk o' honey. Well, de ol' daddy he sees his honey lookin' less and less every day, and he scratch his head and he say to his wife, "Mammy, esses he, dat's mighty funny about dat honey. It's a goin' somewheres." "Well, esses she, what you expect? You let dat good-for-nuffin' Wilhelmina play about yust as she likes and do what she likes, and yet you won't never believe nothin' I tells you about her. I knowed she'd be in some mischief soon, esses she, for ol' Mrs. Ratel was one o' dese women what's all for dear skellum of a boy. And so de daddy has to be good to de little girl hissif." Well, old daddy he sit down and he tink and tink, and old mammy she go out and catch hold o' little Wilhelmina and spank, but young Siunkie he stays out on de veldt and smack his lips on de honey, and keep de tail o' one eye over his shoulder to watch if his daddy's comin'. Tings went on a dis way den, till one mornin' at breakfases dey had a pretty good ol' breakfases, and by de time dey'd finis de ol' daddy was a feelin' yust right and comfy, and he leaned back in his chair and pulls out half a yard. Oh, you see ol Toako. Lun, your old daddy your knife for a minute, Seunki, says he. Young Seunki tink no mo about it, but dives down in his pocket and haul out his knife and lifts it over. But he hadn't no mo, Dan stretch it out, for he feels de honey sticky on it, just as de old daddy grips his fingers on it. De yoke's on his neck now, tinks Seunki, as he looks at his daddy, but he never lets on just yet. Ratel gets de knife open, for de sticky feelin' strikes him. Den he looks down at de blade and de joints of it, and den he looks up at young Seunki and de cheeks of him, and, well, he gets up and grabs dat young burger by de scruff. So it's you been steal all dat honey, is it? Says he. Yest what I taught already. Dear you is agin, shouts de ol fool mammy. Blammin' him, for you knows if it's true or not. You ain't ask him what he's got to say. Dear ain't no need for any say in it, says ol daddy. Dear's de honey on his knife to do all de sayin'. But dat ain't honey at all, says Seunki, bold as brass now his mammy's up. Dat's yust sweet honey gum. I found a tree o' sweet gum yesterday down by de spruit. Sweet gum, says Ratel. I's lived a bit longer and seen a bit mo, dan you, Seunki, but I ain't never seen any sweet gum tree nor heerd o' one yet. Well, you seen and heerd o' sweet gum now, snaps dat ol fool mammy, and dat Ani shows how much smarter he is dan you. You let him go, and he'll show you de tree right enough. Yes, I will, says Seunki, as saucy as a new ticky. Right den, says de ol daddy. I's yust a goin' round de copy now, and as soon as I'm back you'll ha to show me dis sweet gum tree, or else I'll knock some gum out o' you. So off goes Ratel round de copy, and den young Seunki looks at his mammy, and his mammy looks at him. What'll you do now, Seunki? Says she. Goin', show him de tree, says Seunki. You lend me anader knife now, and you'll see. Well, she lend him dis knife, and off he pops and down to de spruit. Dear he pick out a nice young torn tree standin' by itself, one dat hain't got many gum cracks on it, and he set to work like Billy O to scrape off every bit o' dat gum and leave de spots bare. And when he couldn't see not de glisten o' one speck left, den he goes back home and waits for de ol daddy. Well, and here comes in Ratel. Ready to show me dat tree now? Says he. I is, says Seunki. Come dis way and I'll show you. So off dey pops and comes to de tree. Dat's de tree, daddy, says Seunki. See how clean I scraped it till dear ain't none left, it was dat good. Ratel he look at de tree and he see de bare spots, and he try to scrape de cracks wid his nails to taste it. But young Seunki's scraped too clean for dat, and so de ol daddy has to turn round. And look at him. And when's dis tree goin' to ha some more honey on it? Says he. Well, it's of a mornin' de honey's out, says Seunki. Deer has to be de sun on it all day, and den at night de stuff runs. Tomorrow, mornin's de time den. Right, says ol daddy. Tomorrow, mornin' you leave dis tree alone till I comes. Don't you daw to touch it, for I sees it. Den we'll see, says he. Well, perhaps you tink dat you'd set young Seunki to studyin' hard. But not him. He just stalks back wid his ol' daddy, hands in pockets and mouth in a whistle, like a location kaffir wid new yalla boots on. It ain't no sort o' trouble to him to plan skellum. It just come natural to him. When day gets home, young Seunki grins at his mammy, but Ratel he goes out agin on business. And dis time he takes de honey sack wid him, for he's got a plan and he's just a startin' to work it. But he hain't got nothin' sure yet to say to his missus one way or anodder as he goes out. She has. She esses it too. Didn't I tole you? Esses she. Next mornin' Ratel gets all his goin's out done, for breakfast, so as he'll be ready for dis honey tree first ting otter it. But young Seunki he goes out too on his own account. Ani he first cuts anodder chunk o' honey out of his old daddy's goatskin under de bed, and takes dat wid him, and as soon as he gets to de young mimosa he scrapes de gum spots clean agin and daubs 'em all fresh wid honey. Den he sneaks home and smiles to hissif all true breakfast's time. Well, otter breakfast's Ratel he esses. Come on, and de young Seunki he esses, right, and off day pops down to de honeygum tree. Sure enough, dear's de honey and dear's de old daddy a tastin' it and sayin' what mighty good stuff it is. Well, esses de young fella, I tole you all de time, but you wouldn't believe me. And now what? Esses he. Oh, now everything's all right, esses de old daddy grinnin'. And here you is, Seunki, I's brought dis, esses he, pullin' out a big new goatskin sack. You scrape off all dat honeygum now onto a big leaf for your old daddy to eat and den you can stop here wid dis sack and keep on scrappin' every mornin' till you gets it full. Oh, but, esses young Seunki, it'll take so long to fill dat. Oh, dat's all right, esses his old daddy, all a smilin'. In de daytime you can dig yourself a little house, and your sister Wilhelmina can bring you some scoff every mornin', and you'll just have a fine old time wid no old daddy to boss you. Well, wasn't young Seunki spry's, and didn't he sniff and he snivel? But it ain't no use, to stop. And when it come otternoon too, and he go up home and he howl and he prowl, it still ain't no manner o' use either, for de ol' man just pops out otter him and shambok him away agin. Now, what's all dat for? Scream ol' Mrs. Ratel. Didn't he show you de tree, and hain't you eat de sweet gum yourself? I did, esses ol' Ratel. Dat's just it. If I hadn't to eat it I mightn't a nowed. But I put rock aloes uiche on de honey dat was in de bag under de bed last night, and dis sweet gum de torn tree was just a stingin' wid aloes uiche dis mornin'. If young Seunki's smart enough to steal his daddy's honey, and try to fool him, den he's big enough and smart enough to look out for hissif now on. Dear's lots o' country out o' doors for him to dig in. Well, ol' Mrs. Ratel she rage and she ramp, but it ain't no manner o' use. De ol' man stick to what he say, and young Seunki had to go, all 'cause he couldn't leave any honey alone, not even his old daddy's. So, concluded the old Hottentot, now you knows why de Ratel is just so dead gone on honey. It's in de blood, and you can't get dat out no how. And otter dat, don't you clinkies ever go stealin' your old daddy's honey, else you'll be gettin' de same way. with which debatable threat old Hendrik resumed his course to the mealy lands beyond. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.